Eagles secondary to me is the most fascinating position to watch during training camp and preseason. Now, there are two things I can tell you right now for sure. One, the Eagles are loaded with young talent at the cornerback position. Two, those starting spots are wide open for whoever wants to take it.
Still the cowboy, Mr. McLean. You Americans are all alike. But this time, John Wayne doesn't walk into the sunset with Grace Kelly. Scary Cooper, asshole! Dingbat! Oh shit! Oh shit! That was crazy!
Happy trails, Hans.
Dallas still stinks.
King Dingbat here. So 4th of July is behind us, and we're a few weeks away from training camp. Now, this is the real slow part. These few weeks are going to seem like a whole nother off season. They're slow, they're drawn out, and it just takes forever. But we're all itching for football. We're all itching for training camp, for practice, for preseason. Let's get this thing going. I'm telling you, I'm ready to go. Now, one of the things I like to do this time of year is I watch a lot of conspiracy theory stuff. I just do. I watch a lot of conspiracy theory stuff, a lot of Eagle stuff, and all sorts of things like that. Now, I came upon a new YouTuber, a new Eagles video maker, and I wanted to give him a shout out because he's just starting out and we're getting ready to go into football season. His name is Fanatic Philly Fan. Now, he did a couple videos. They were very good. I'm going to leave his link in the description, so all you Eagle fans who want to watch more Eagles content, check him out, subscribe to him, and hey, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Now, the other guy I need to thank and talk about is Pigskin Pete. Now, Pigskin Pete, he's a friend of mine. He does a lot of college football. He also does a series called Behind the Camera. Now, he's done, I think, 4 episodes. The last one he did a few days ago was with me, and it's basically him talking to YouTubers and just getting a little more personal about their lives and stuff like that. It was very good. I had a great time. I'm going to leave the link in the description to that video he did, and I just want to give him a shout out. Subscribe to him. He does a lot of college football, and not only that, he has my back. He did a video having my back, and I want to thank him for that. But definitely go subscribe to Pigskin Pete. Check out the episode I did with him. It was very, very good. And thank you, Pigskin Pete, for having me on. Now, as I was saying in the intro, one of the most fascinating areas all of training camp for the Eagles is going to be that whole secondary position. Because I got to tell you, I'm not sure any of us know how the Eagles view these guys, how they view their depth chart right now. I was doing a group text with some people yesterday, and we were all talking about Crevion LeBlanc's working out video he did that was posted on Twitter, 4th of July. I'll leave the link in the description. But he was working out afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He's in the gym, working out, getting ready, trying to put himself in a position to win the starting job. And we were all talking about basically who we thought the starters were in the secondary. And I was saying that the way I see it right now, here's my starting lineup for the secondary going into training camp. I would have Ronald Darby when he's healthy, because you're paying him a lot of money. Avonte Maddox, they would be my outside corners. I would have Crevion LeBlanc starting in my slot, and then I would have Jenkins and McLeod at the safety position. Now, as soon as I said that, other people came back and said, no, you got to put Sidney Jones in the slot. And then it was just a whole argument, and nobody could seem to agree how this whole thing should work out, because the truth is we really don't know what the Eagles are thinking. We don't know what Schwartz is thinking. We know Schwartz loves Jalen Mills. Jalen Mills comes back this year. He was hurt last year, but he could very well be inserted right back into that starting lineup. It would not surprise me. Now, me personally, I would not start Jalen Mills again. He would not be my starter at this point right now. He'd have to go win the job in training camp, because I do think all these positions, both outside corners, the slot, I think they're all wide open. I think we should have a battle and let the best guys win, okay? But the way I look at it going into training camp, I think Avonte Maddox has to be that one of the outside corners. I think you have to slot Ronald Darby in as one of the seconds. He's come back from an ACL, and I'm very concerned about a guy coming back his first year back from an ACL, especially at the cornerback position. But the Eagles are paying him enough money where they're going to insert him as a starter right away. They wouldn't have paid him what they're paying him, okay? So he's the starter on the outside. I'm pretty secure with saying Darby's already going to be one of the guys. I believe Avonte Maddox is a star. I believe he's a rising star on this team, and I believe that, going to training camp, he would have to be my other starting corner. Now, at the slot position, okay, I tell you what, Cre'Von LeBlanc played really, really well. He was a masterful pickup by Joe Douglas. And it was one of the reasons why I didn't like losing Joe Douglas was because he did such a good job picking up guys like LeBlanc last year. And I really like Le'Veon LeBlanc. And then going into training camp, I would have him as my number one. And I would have Sidney Jones and him battle up all preseason, all training camp, and let the best man win. Now, the thing with Sidney Jones is this. You drafted him in the second round. You drafted him in the second round not to be a slot corner. You want him eventually to make that outside position, to be an outside corner. If he could be a starting outside corner with Avonte Maddox on the other side, that would be unbelievable. But he's really got to take a step. He, in my opinion, had a rookie year last year. It was his rookie year, but he has to come out, he has to stay healthy, and the first thing he's going to have to do is he's going to have to win a slot corner battle with Le'Veon LeBlanc to see, who's the starter. And right now, I think LeBlanc is easily the starting slot corner on this team, no doubt about it. So when I look at my depth chart going into training camp, it's Darby, it's Maddox, it's LeBlanc. And then my backups would be Rasul Douglas, Jalen Mills, and Sidney Jones. And those would be my second team in the secondary. And by all means, I want these guys battling all training camp, all preseason. And the best guys should definitely win. Let me say this about Ronald Darby, okay? Because I have him as a starter in my depth chart going into training camp. But he is going to miss a lot of preseason, if not all of preseason, because he's coming back from an ACL. Now, the reason I have him as a starter is because the Eagles are paying him big money. They wouldn't have brought him back for 1 year to make him a backup. They are bringing him in to start, and that's what they're going to do. When he's cleared and ready to play, they will insert him back in that starting lineup. Now, maybe he'll lose it at the end of the year, mid-year, because, look, I worry about a guy coming back from a torn ACL, okay? I do. But, to start out, when he's ready, I think that they're going to insert him there. Now, with him missing time, with him missing training camp, preseason, it's going to open the door for other guys to make their mark on the team. Now, I'm not sure what the Eagles are going to do. Will they move Jalen Mills over and let him be the backup and insert him in Darby's spot until he's ready? Or do they just sit there and let Rasul Douglas be the backup and then he has a real opportunity to make some strides for this team? I'm not really sure how they're going to do it. I think they feel like they can move a lot of these guys around. So it's going to be very interesting. But with Ronald Darby out for a period of time, it's going to open a door for some of these other guys to make their mark on why they should be the starting corner or why they should be on this team, because it's going to be a battle, not just for the starting positions, but for the backup positions as well. And when I talk about Rasul Douglas, I've said it a million times, move him to safety. But right now, the Eagles haven't said they want to do that. So if he is a backup corner, he is going to be sitting, and he's not going to get a lot of playing time, and I think that that's wasting his talents by putting him on the bench. That's why I would move him, because I think he could do a lot more than he does for the Eagles. Now, speaking of safeties, the safety position, we know who the starters are. They're Malcolm Jenkins, Rodney McLeod. We know those are your starters. Where it's interesting is really the backups, because you have Trey Sullivan. They brought in Andrew Sendejo. They have Trey Elston they brought in. They have DeAndre Hall. They brought in Godwin Igwebuike, who is more a safety defensive back guy. He can kind of play both. But here's how I see it. I think your starters are. It's Malcolm Jenkins and McLeod. And then, I think Trey Sullivan is pretty secure in one of the spots. Now, where I think it could be interesting and where you have to watch a real battle is going to be Andrew Sendejo. Now, he's a veteran. He's a hard hitter. He played with the Minnesota Vikings. He's a good player in his career. He has been. But I think if the performance level from some of these young guys, maybe Elston or DeAndre, if any of these guys are even close performance-wise to what Andrew Sendejo is doing on the field during preseason, I think they may cut Andrew Sendejo. I really do. And here's why. He's $800,000 you would save. That's not a lot of money. But he is also blocking a compensatory pick. If you let him go, you then receive that compensatory pick back. So I think there is some sort of motivation that if any of these young guys are even close to what Andrew Sendejo is doing, that you could very well just let him go. So that very well may happen with Andrew Sendejo. I think if you get anybody who's even just close to him performance-wise, there's motivation to let him go. There's motivation, not the $800,000, but that compensatory pick is very valuable to the Philadelphia Eagles. So we got to keep our eye on that. That's where I'm looking for the real battle. Can Andrew Sendejo win a job, or is one of these young guys going to rise up and take it from him? And you know what I would do? I would move Douglas right in that position and tell him see you later. But that's just me. So Sendejo, I really think, is on the chopping block for the Eagles. And then another guy, at the defensive back position, I think is on the chopping block, is going to be Jalen Mills. Now, Jim Schwartz may totally see this different. He may love Jalen Mills. By all counts, he does. And he may not want to get rid of Jalen Mills. I don't think Mills will get cut, but I do think the Eagles could trade. This is where you may see the Eagles make a trade with one of these defensive backs. It may be Rasul Douglas. Because if they're not going to move him to safety and he's just sitting there, on the bench, not getting reps, not getting play, they may move him. They may move Jalen Mills. They may move one of these guys for that other defensive end that we keep talking about the Eagles needing. So it's going to be interesting, but I think Mills and Sendejo are two guys that I expect or think there's a good possibility won't be here when the season starts week 1. Now, one other thing I want to bring up real quick is that the supplemental draft is coming up. And there was an article on Bleeding Green Nation, and they were talking about the Eagles may have interest in a guy named Jalen Thompson, I believe, a safety. I don't know much about him. I'll put his highlights in the description, but he's available in the supplemental draft. He's a guy that if the Eagles they may really like him, and he may be the guy that they replace Sendejo with. So it's going to be interesting. And remember, when you get rid of Sendejo, you're getting a compensatory pick. So there is motivation to do it. Anyways, I think that the secondary position for the Eagles in so many different areas, slot, outside corner, I think it's just such a fascinating battle that's going to take place at camp. And I'm going to be watching very, very closely. What do you think about the secondary position? I want to know. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.